Yo, welcome to the American Gamedog podcast. I'm your host, CY, and as promised today, we're going to be going over the health and conditioning of these dogs. I'll be doing that by reading an article from the Sporting Dog Journal from the year 2018. This article was written by canine athletes. With no further ado, we're about to get into it. The title is Canine Athletes Conditioning Doctrine by no other than Canine Athletes. Welcome to the Canine Athlete System. I've been applying these simple principles for well over a decade, testing them, experimenting with them, and modifying them until I had a system that could guarantee results for any dog that it was faithfully applied to. Hundreds of dogs that I have conditioned over the years are proof that the canine athlete system works. If you do the work, you too can get comparable results. There's one reason I think most training programs fall short. Most usually give you one specific template, down to the day and the minute. Individual differences aren't considered. Every dog gets the same old plan. For optimal body composition, health, and performance, you will need strategies designed specifically for each individual dog. You also need strategies that change as your dog's bodies change. As they get leaner or gain muscle, they will have different bodies and therefore have different requirements. Most also have another thing in common. They recommend feeding subpar diets filled with supplements to make up for the lack of nutrients in the food. To start, we all need to have realistic expectations for what we can achieve. 6 weeks to reach peak conditioning? I think not. 10 weeks to considerable progress, and 12 weeks to massive improvements in body composition and performance. Now we are talking. It is important that you feed a high quality diet to your dogs their entire lifetime. Incremental differences add up and make huge differences as your dogs age. It is also extremely important that your dog is prepared for the rigors of a conditioning program. You should be developing and grooming your canine athletes as youngsters through play. Introduce them to all the training methods available to you. It is a learning experience not only for the pups, but also for you. As handlers and trainers, you will learn what your dog as an individual enjoys, what he is not so crazy about as well, what he needs more practice with, and what he is natural at. These are all small bits of information which will be critical to maximizing your dog's potential later in his life. Many believe that we are merely training the dog to perform tasks, but I prefer to take my conditioning a step further. I have a deeper, more spiritual connection with my dogs than most people. I had developed this over time by learning how to naturally interact and communicate with my dogs through both verbal and nonverbal means. The bond between man and dog is like no other on the planet. This dog innately knows when you are full of bullshit. You must be a good leader for the dog to believe and trust you, especially during times of stress. I'm not going to get into the ins and outs of communicating with your dogs because it is something that requires years of hands-on experience to develop. It is something that really can't be taught. It must be developed through feel. Before I get into the meat and potatoes of my program, I will leave you with some quotes on this topic from the book by Captain Von Steffens, The German Shepherd Dog in Word and Picture, written in 1925. The instructor must himself be a psychologist. He must learn to read the soul of the dog and his own too. He must observe himself closely so that he shall not only be prevented from underestimating the dog and his human ignorance, but also that he may be able to give the dog suggestions and help in an intelligent way. Our chief means of influencing the dog are eye, gesture, and voice. The dog is in awe of our glance, and the sound of our voice conveys to him command and prohibition, praise, blame, affection, warning, or punishment. The plan. What you read in this plan may be common sense for some of you. I will say it anyway because there are some that will find it helpful. And further, reiterating the routine reinforces good habits. To start, you will need to determine the best schedule that you will be able to faithfully commit to for the next 3 months. For me, working the dog Monday through Friday with Saturday and Sunday as rest days works best. It allows me to have my weekends free. You need to get at least 4 to 5 days of work in a week with 2 to 3 rest days. How you accomplish this is up to you. Everyone's personal life varies. Some dogs respond positively to different schedules than others. Experiment and get this figured out prior to committing to this program. Next, you will want to ensure that your dog is healthy and free from parasites. It is a smart idea to run routine blood work tests prior to starting the program. The American Pit Bull Terrier is an extremely tough breed that often does not show signs of illness until they are very sick. Performing these tests can identify any hidden symptoms that would otherwise go undetected and prevent your dog from reaching his full potential. Assuming your dog is healthy, you are ready to begin your training program. An overlooked portion of putting your dog into top condition is figuring out where your dog will be housed during the duration of the program. The dog needs to be properly contained in a safe, low-stress environment that will be conducive to good rest. I'm not going to tell you where to keep your dog because you know your dog as individuals better than I do. Some people keep their dogs indoors. Some people keep them in crates, kennels, on chains, or cable runs. The point is to determine a place where your dog will be safe, comfortable, and able to get good sleep after their training sessions. Doing so will prevent problems later, and the result will be a dog that is well rested both mentally and physically. A dog that is ready to give his best every day. Once a week, I will give my dog a Go Nut rubber chew toy on one of his rest days. If he does not enjoy Go Nuts toys, I will give them a large beef knuckle bone. I prefer the Go Nuts chew toys versus the beef knuckle bones because the animal bones can dull your dog's teeth over time. The chewing will increase jaw power and provides mental stimulation. Never give the dog anything unsupervised. I repeat, never give the dog anything unsupervised. Spending 30 to 60 minutes with the dog while he is chewing on his toy. Do not give your dog any chewing exercise more than once a week. And do not give it at all the last week of the program. I repeat, do not give it at all the last week of the program. Weeks 12 to 10, I spend slowly preparing my dog for the hard work to come. This consists of simply a 1 hour hand walk. I do this Monday through Friday, giving the dog Saturday and Sunday off. I always walk my dog in a collar unless I'm having him drag something. I find walking the dog in the collar strengthens the neck, but does not take away from any of the other benefits that hand walking gives. Obviously, if you have a dog that can't work or breathe in the collar for whatever reason, you will have to use a harness. In these instances, you could use a weighted collar for your walks. I do not like to use a heavy collar. All you need is a few pounds to add some resistance. I have seen people add heavy weighted collars and leave them on the dog the entire keep, even when not working. I do not like this method at all. Weeks 9 to 2. I start with a 20 to 30-minute hand walk to loosen the dog up and let him have. Hold on. I start with a 20 to 30-minute hand walk to loosen the dog up and let him fully relieve himself. After the walk, I put the dog on a slack meal. I start with no more than 5 minutes of good running the first day. I like the dog to run at a fast trot, faster than a walk, but not a sprint. At some point during the 5 minutes of running, I like to see the dog sprint to get an idea of how fast he can run and how much work he can handle. I only have the dog sprint for about 30 seconds to a minute. That is plenty on the first day of real work. Some dogs won't sprint on the meal, and others will need to be enticed with a toy or another dog to get them excited. If you have a dog that will not run the mill, you can replicate this with a bicycle. All of the slack mill work can be replicated on a bike. You will need to find a nice dirt trail through the woods if possible, or an old country road with little traffic. Running the dog on the roads is tough on their pads, so be sure to use Pad Tough. If you prepare the dog with 2 weeks of simple hand walking as outlined above, you most likely will have a problem with the pads. However, if you are working the dog on pavement, you should be adding Pad Tough just to be on the safe side. After the slack mill work, I hand walk my dog. For week 9, I only walk him about a half hour or so. After the first 2 weeks of light work and this first week of real work, you should have an idea how much work the dog can handle and what his limitations are. I will gradually increase the meal work and hand walking throughout weeks 9 through 2. Throughout weeks 9 to 2, I normally peak out at around 50 to 60 minutes on a slack meal and 1 to 1.5 hour hand walk. This is 50 to 60 minutes of meal work broken out into 2 sets. In between sets, I give my dog a short 5-minute hand walk. I do not take the dog off the meal for a sip of water or to cool down during their sets. Sprints on the slack meal are very important as they increase the heart rate to a point that normal walking or trotting on the meal would not do. Raising the heart rate is critical as it will help the dog with recovery. This is where being a dog man versus merely being a guy with a dog comes into play. You can easily overwork your dogs by doing too many sprints. You must pay close attention to your dog. You want to work the dog hard, but you do not want to overwork him. You really need to work a lot of dogs and have an eye for what you are doing. It's hard to say how many minutes to sprint the dog for and or how many sprints to give the dog during a training session. You just must determine what your dog can handle by watching your dog while he works. I pick a day that is going to be a hard training day. This is a day where I want to see more work from my dog. I normally do this on Wednesday, but if the dog seems like he is tired after the meal work, I will wait until Friday. I flirt pole the dog on this day, besides hand walking. If I could choose only one tool to work my dog, it would be the flirt pole. No other form of exercise achieves the results that the flirt pole will do when used correctly. The flirt pole most, must closely, most closely replicates what we are training for: prey drive, speed, stamina, fast twitch muscle, strength, explosiveness, mouth, eye coordination, etc. Most people do not know how to properly work a dog with the flirt pole, and they do more harm than good. Be sure to practice your flirt pole skills prior to the key. If you can't properly use a flirt pole, use a spring pole. The spring pole does not compare to the flirt pole, but is a much better than ruining the dog you are working by using the flirt pole incorrectly. The flirt pole helps the dog become an athlete. It helps the dog to have a quick mouth, to be fast and agile, to work while frustrated, and puts unbelievable cardiovascular endurance into the dog. The idea with the flirt pole is that you want the dog to chase the hide and to keep it just out of his reach. A mistake I see almost every time I watch someone use the flirt pole is that they stand in one spot and make the dog run in boring circles. You should be moving around, running, and sprinting yourself while the dog chases you. Do large, wide figure eights. Change up your patterns so the dog does not know where you are going. Make the dog jump for the hide sometimes. Leaping and jumping creates explosiveness. Be careful with jumping, as the dog could possibly injure himself if he comes down wrong. You will notice the dog's athleticism increase from the first day you work the dog on the flirt pole to the last day you work the dog on the flirt pole. You will have to be better with the hide because the dog's mouth-eye coordination will improve considerably. If the dog catches the hide sometimes, do not worry. Praise the dog and let him work the hide for a few minutes while playing tug of war with him. This will help his confidence as well as building strength. It also forces the dog to breathe through his nose while his mouth is closed, which will again help to improve his cardiovascular endurance. This work is similar to the spring pole, but is usually more fun for the dog because you are actually working with him. Don't let him work with the hide like this for more than a few minutes. If he doesn't slip off within a minute or two, break him off and get back to the flirt pole work. You can easily overwork a dog on the flirt pole. 5 minutes of intense flirt pole work the first day is more than enough. Again, being a dog man and paying attention to your animal is the key. Do not overwork your dog. After the flirt pole work, hand walk your dog. Pay attention to how quickly your dog recovers on the walk. After the flirt pole work, he should be breathing very heavily and wanting to rest. Pay attention to how quick your dog recovers and start pulling on the leash again. Throughout the program, your dog should be recovering quicker and quicker. Starting on week 8, I like to give my dog 2 hard days of work, assuming he can handle it. Normally, I do this on Tuesday and Friday. One day will be the flirt pole work discussed above, and the other day will be the dragon chains, spring pole, or power walks. I will determine what my dog needs based on his individual likes and dislikes. Rotating different exercises that the dog enjoys seems to work well and keep the dog mentally focused. Dragging chains helps to add strength and endurance. As with the weighted collar, the weight of the chain does not need to be too heavy. It needs to be enough to add resistance and give the dog a good workout. Always use a pulling harness with a tracer while dragging chains. In the beginning, you only need 5 to 10 minutes of dragging the chain. As you progress through the training program, you will gradually increase the time the dog drags the chains. I normally max out at about 40 minutes or so. I do the chain dragging as part of their normal hand walking. So if I'm going to walk the dog for an hour, I will put the chains and tracer in my backpack and start my walk. After about 10 minutes or so, I will attach the tracer to the harness and hook up the chains. Then the dog drags the chains while we continue to walk. Once he has had enough, I take the chains off and I put them back in the backpack and finish my walk. To get even more out of my walks, I will sometimes recruit a friend to walk a dog in front of me. My dog will pull even harder during the entire walk, maximizing our training. I call these power walks. By week 3 to 2, your dog should be working at his peak times. During these 2 weeks, I usually give the dog 2 to 3 days of hard work. Typically, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday are our hard workout days. Monday and Friday are flirt pole or spring pole, and Wednesday are dragon chains or power walks. A few common mistakes I notice are handlers that are either undercommitted to the training schedule or overcommitted. What I mean by this is that they skip training days for no reason other than being lazy or needing to deal with life. On the contrary, I see others who are overcommitted to the schedule and ignore the signs of an overworked dog. Never be afraid to give the dog a day off if he is sluggish or sore. A day or two off will never hurt the dog. Skipping a workout will always be better than working a tired dog. It's the last week before the event. I gradually reduced my dog's work this week. Monday, I will hand walk 20 to 30 minutes until the dog completely relieves himself. Then I will put the dog on the slack meal for a hard 15-minute session. After this, I will walk in for 1.5 hours or whatever amount of time we have maxed out at during weeks 3 to 2. On Tuesday, I will walk my dog to relieve himself and then put him on the slack meal for an intense 10 minutes. Then I hand walk my dog for 1.5 hours or whatever amount of time we have maxed out at during weeks 3 to 2. On Wednesday, I hand walk my dog until he relieves himself, and then I put him on the slack meal for a fast-paced 5 minutes. Then I hand walk my dog for 1 hour. On Thursday, I will walk my dog for 1 hour only. I do not do any slack meal work on Thursday. On Friday, I will walk my dog for 1 hour only. I do not do any slack meal work on Friday. Saturday is the day of the event. I hand walk my dog 3 to 4 times throughout the day for 10 to 15 minutes each session. Short, low intensity walks. The idea is to keep eliminate the dog to ensure that he is completely empty before his event. The idea is to keep the dog urinating to ensure that he is completely empty before his event. That's urinating and pooping. After the walks, put your dog in a safe, low-stress place so that he can rest prior to the competition. When your competition starts, be confident. You have put in the work and sacrifices of this program, and you and your dog are primed for success. Have fun and leave it all out on the field. Remember, your dog can sense what you are feeling. If you are stressed or worried, your dog will undoubtedly feel that emotion as well. If you are calm, relaxed, and ready to kick ass, your dog will be too. A basic rule of thumb is to add 5 minutes per set to the meal work each week. Some dogs will need less work, some dogs will need more. Use your best judgment based on the results you are getting. Factors to consider. Every training session should always begin with hand walking and end with hand walking. Temperature and humidity will tire your dog out much quicker than many realize. Keep in mind the temperature and humidity levels during each workday. How hard the individual dog works. Not every dog works at the same intensity level. Lazy dogs will require more work, while intense workers may need less work. I have one dog that is so intense that I have to break his treadmill sets into 12 sets of 5 minutes rather than my standard 2 sets of 30 minutes. Determine what works best for your dog and execute accordingly. How hard your slack meal turns. A harder turning meal will require more energy from your dog. Keep this in mind when determining how much work your dog needs. Both a free turning slack meal and a hard turning slack meal are useful tools. Keep in mind the dog's natural stamina. Just like people, some dogs have better stamina than others. Pay attention to this variable and plan accordingly. Never try anything new on your dog the last 2 weeks of the program. This is not a time for experimenting. Run all experimenting prior to getting ready for competition. The best way to learn is to do. Perform practice programs on your dog to learn and improve. You don't know something until you've done it. No conditioning plan exists that can transform a low quality animal into a high quality animal. Remember, a great dog can make an amateur conditioner look great. A poor conditioner can make a great dog look average, and a great conditioner can make an average dog look great. Pairing a great dog with a great conditioner is what legends are made of. The week of the competition, your dog should be a ball of energy. He should be laser sharp, both mentally and physically. He is peaked and ready to handle business. A telltale sign that something went wrong in your conditioning program is a sluggish, dull dog. Much of being a great conditioner is about being an astute problem solver. Where many people fail is they are not flexible enough to adjust to their program to the dog's needs. Be consistent, disciplined, and always pay attention to your dog. Next time, I write about the diet I use when conditioning my dogs. Spoiler alert, it's not much different from my regular everyday feed. That's because I strongly believe what you put into your dog's body every day makes a huge difference. Feeding poor nutrition for most of the dog's life and then trying to supercharge it for 6 to 12 weeks before a competition is a poor strategy. As always, I'm available to help if anyone has any specific questions or needs help troubleshooting. Hit me up on Facebook Messenger, Instagram direct message, or email me. K9 Athletes, serious dogs for serious peoples. This was a pretty great article. He pretty much went in depth on his conditioning program. K9 Athletes did. One thing that I noticed while reading this great article was that I don't know if the weeks was misprinted. Far as like when it came to beginning to keep, because it started with weeks 12 to 10, then went to weeks 9 to 2. I'm pretty sure y'all got the sense to know that that wasn't correct. But the information within the article is priceless. Again, this was in a SDJ from 2018. Let me see who the cover dog was. Hold on just a second. Okay, the cover dog was Los Compadres Grand Champion 22 on the cover. Yeah, it was a pretty great article. Went in on conditioning and the health of your dog. Always remember to make sure that you feed your dogs the best dog food that you can buy. Make sure that you're keeping your animals hydrated. This is one of the hottest summers that I've ever experienced. Uh, we got to make sure that we're keeping these dogs hydrated. Especially if they're kept outside. Make sure you keep them with water. If you're going to be conditioning your dog, getting your dog ready for, weight pool, conformation, treadmill race, wall climb. Make sure that you're conditioning your dog when it's cool outside. Wait till about 7, 8 o'clock and then start conditioning your dog. If you're conditioning your dog in the middle of the day, uh, you're risking killing your dog. That's when you separate real dog man from novices. A novice would take his dog out in the middle of the day, trying to call himself conditioning the dog. That's crazy. Uh, if y'all have any topics that y'all would like discussed, or any interviews that y'all would like done, you got somebody that you want to hear give you know their ideas, give their uh you know tell their story, from back in the day, let me know. Uh, in short, hey, take care of this breed, man. This breed, you know, is one of the best breeds in the world. Is the best breed of dog in the world, and we should cherish these dogs. And always remember, your dog is not a machine. These dogs are flesh and blood. Uh, they're not machines. So keep that in mind. When it comes to conditioning, and I think we're gonna wrap it up. Uh, we'll be back with another episode real soon. As always, like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for your viewership. And oh yeah, disclaimer: we do not support dog fighting in any way whatsoever, nor do we condone or promote it. This is the American Game Dog Podcast. I'm your host, CY, and please tune in next time. Like, share, and subscribe. And we're on the race to 500 subscribers. I'm thinking about having like a raffle, or when we whoever the 500th subscriber is, we might have to send y'all a little prize. So you know, make sure that you're sharing the page. Make sure that you're letting everybody know about the American Game Dog Podcast. I'm your host, CY, and we'll see you next time.